Hello, my name is Heidy Contreras, and I'm an assistant professor at California State University, San Bernardino in the biology department. Today, I wanted to share a little bit of the work that I have been doing at my institution to bring in use-inspired research as a way to be able to engage students early on in their development as a researcher. Now, our group has been working on the idea that in order to help students be able to get a good job after they graduate using the degree that they've been working on, we must build a pathway that guides them through the very initial steps of, developing as a scientist through STEM education to finding that particular career that they're interested in. And one way to do this, we think, is through the use of use-inspired research, which will connect different groups of scientists to work together on a particular problem. Now, as I said, I'm interested in looking at the piece of STEM education that would benefit students so that we could start creating these particular pathways at places like primarily undergraduate institutions. So we want students to be able to graduate with all the skills that are required for them to be able to get the particular job that they're interested in, which relates to the discipline in which they got their degree in. Now, in general, regardless of the undergraduate institution that you're focused on, ultimately, what those institutions want is to set students up for success. And in our case, we're defining success as them being able to continue with their STEM professional development by getting a particular job in the sector that they're interested in. So how each particular university does this varies. I'm showing an example from the University of Michigan and all the student learning outcomes that they're trying to develop in their students. So things like be able to problem solve, critical thinking, mastery of knowledge, engaging diversity, be able to communicate effectively, be able to create new things and innovate new technologies or new solutions for a particular problem, but also be active in their citizenship. So be able to bring what you've learned in the classroom to your everyday life and use it as a means to be able to help your community or yourself. So each university might frame these particular goals differently, but ultimately, this is what we're all aiming for. Now, when I think of students and science, I always think of this picture, something like this, where you have students in the classroom just very excited about the science that they're doing, and they're tinkering with things and just mixing different things to see kind of what is the outcome of that scientific project. So when they're young, they're really excited and interested and just curious about the world. Now, as these students develop into college students, they start learning a bit about what the sciences are really like. So if you ask them maybe, what does a scientist look like? They might think of somebody that looks like this, right? Somebody in the lab with their lab coats on, gloves, tinkering with micropipettes, definitely always a microscope to look at things. Or somebody that looks like this, right? Also in the lab, working hard. Maybe they're not working with micropipettes, they might be working with other things, but ultimately there are these individuals who are always inside of a laboratory, tinkering with things by themselves or maybe with one person. And that is the practice of being a scientist, is what I think most people might think of. So then if you ask them, well, what does a scientist do on a day-to-day? What are they working on? Now, some might think that we do this, right? We're constantly reading, we're constantly writing, and then we just repeat the cycle over and over again. So we're in the lab tinkering with things, and we're just constantly working. And I'm not saying this is not what we do. This is definitely part of it, right? But it might not get to all the intricacies of what we could do with the science that we're developing. Now, at the end of this cycle of just work, what most people think is that then we share all this information with all of our friends who are also scientists. So, these very difficult to understand ideas, we present them to other people that, are very well known in the field. And those are the only people that really get to learn about the science that scientists are creating, the knowledge that scientists are creating. I find that once students get to my class, as a first-year biology student, this is the idea that they have. And a lot of them feel a little bit scared about the prospect of becoming a scientist. But what I would want is to get them back to this spot where they just feel really excited and curious about the world around them. And think about science as a place where they're going to get the tools that they would want to use to continue to explore their environment. So I want to get them, or nature, patterns that emerge. So I want to get them back to this place where they're just excited to do science. They could see the value of it. Now, when you think about, how do scientists do what they do, or why are they doing what they're doing? You can think of, two fundamental questions that you could ask yourself or your students. First, you could ask, well, do researchers seek new understanding? Do they want to develop new knowledge? And the second question is, do researchers seek to use their discovery? So are they not only developing new knowledge, but do they want to use this knowledge to solve a problem? So one outcome could be that the researcher is neither seeking to develop new knowledge or to use that knowledge to solve any problems. And if that's the case, then, those individuals are probably just having some really fun time with a purposeful hobby. However, if you have a researcher that is seeking to create new knowledge, but does not seek to use that knowledge to solve problems, that's where you have fundamental research occurring, which is important for us to learn about the different patterns in nature. Now, the other thing we could think of is, okay, well, are researchers seeking new understanding, but also are they seeking to use this understanding to develop a solution to a problem? And if they are interested in using their discoveries, but not necessarily interested in finding new understanding, then maybe what they're developing is technology, right? They just want to progress in a particular technology that's already out there and make it better. But if a researcher is interested in both creating new knowledge and also using that knowledge to solve a problem, then this is where we have use-inspired research. And this is the place where I think students can really connect to and find value in the work that they're doing in their labs. So the idea is making sure that students know that sometimes, individuals might just want to kind of play around and use the tools that they're learning just because they want to use it and that's a hobby. Sometimes researchers are going to purely want to develop new understandings, and that's pure research. But there are some research that are seeking to create new knowledge and solve human problems. And I think that by doing this, by using use-inspired research, we might be able to engage more of a diverse student body because the problems that then our students are able to focus on can really be related to problems that that particular community is interested in. And that's been my thought in developing the project that I've been working on at Cal State San Bernardino, is thinking about, what are my students interested in learning more about, and then providing them with the tools that they need in order to be able to explore that topic a little bit more. Now, trying to develop a program that allows students to kind of have this freedom to explore new knowledge, but then also to try to think of how they're going to apply this knowledge is really difficult when you have very large classes. So at Cal State San Bernardino, we are lucky enough that within the last 2 years, we've been able to create smaller courses for first-year biology students, but 5 years ago, each of those classes were about 300 students per section. I know other institutions have similar problems. So one way that I think that you could still give students an experience of use-inspired research, connecting with their communities to figure out what problems they might want to address is through course-based undergraduate research experiences. So your 300 level or your 300 person classroom can be subdivided into smaller classes for lab. And in those labs, you can provide students with the opportunity to learn how to do research by conducting this research to the class. Now, cures have a variety of ways in which they could be developed. Sometimes it's really going through the entire research process, scientific method process, where you start with a research question, students develop their hypotheses, methods, collect the data, analyze it, and then present on it. But sometimes these cures can be modified so that maybe they're only doing part of that sequence. However, cures in general have been found to be a high impact teaching strategy. And there's a lot of gain associated with having students be part of cures. And the main thing is that they get access to research a lot sooner than those students who aren't exposed to cures as they're developing as scientists. Now, the other high impact teaching practice that I'm interested in exploring is looking at community-based research. So community-based research integrates academic study with community involvement. And so my idea for my project is that I wanted to develop a cure that allowed students, yes, to develop their own research projects, but with a partner, a community partner, so that then we were addressing a problem that the community would be interested in. So why is community-based education important? Well, it kind of enhances all of the skills that we think about when we think about how effective cures are. So there's experiential learning. They're out in the field collecting data the way that any other scientist would. You have communication skills that are developed because they're sharing, first of all, their findings with a community partner, but they're also working alongside with them throughout their project. They have an increased understanding of social and cultural context associated with the particular problem that they're working on. They contribute to the community, so they feel more connected to the work that they're doing. There's a lot of different gains that students develop by being involved in community-based education. So at Cal State San Bernardino, what I did is I developed a community-based course with undergraduate research experiences for first-year biology students. So the goal of my cure was first to teach just the fundamental skills of biology, lab techniques that you normally would teach during first-year bio, like how to use a microscope, how to use a pipetter. Here I'm showing a aseptic technique. So learning all the skills that would normally get taught during first-year bio, but now instead of teaching it individually, you're teaching those skills so that they could collect a particular set of data. The other thing is reinforcing understanding of topics. So, when they're learning these techniques, we're talking about, the different types of cells that they're looking at, what kind of organisms might be in the samples that they're collecting. So we're talking about cell structure, metabolism, pathways, etc. So the concepts that we're teaching in this first year course are also similar to what they would learn in more traditional courses. And then the third thing that I teach here is how to properly work in groups, because realistically, if they graduate and they go work for anywhere, actually, not just in science, they're going to have to work with other people. So really developing their communication skills, their work ethic, and how they work in groups is something that we focus on specifically. The other thing we're working on is developing scientific literacy. So we talk about the scientific method. We help students develop their research questions, hypotheses, methods, etc., based off of the question that they're interested in. And in order to do all these things, we ask them to read scientific literature and be able to interpret it. And then at the end, we also ask them to share their science with their peers and our community partners. Furthermore, with this cure, we're making connections with community organizations and leadership. So for now, we've partnered up with the San Bernardino Water Municipality Department because the research question that we're focusing on relates to water quality in San Bernardino. So through this course, we're connecting our students with a possible future workforce. They're learning about the types of jobs available in this sector, and they're learning the skills that they might need if they want to work for this organization. The other thing is that then that organization also gets to know our students. They know what kind of techniques they're learning in our class, and they've actually helped guide us into, what are some of the things that we may want to look at based off of their interest in the course. And of course, we're introducing new career options for students because as a first year, mostly what I hear is that everybody wants to go into the health fields. But here they're getting an understanding that you could use biology in other sectors. So they're expanding their horizons as it relates to the type of career that they could choose with their degree. So what did this class actually look like? So the research question that we set to address, and that was set by me before the class started, is how does the quality of drinking water affect living organisms? And the reason why I chose that question is because I met with our community partner before the class started and developed our research question together. And what they said is they really wanted to get a better understanding of the drinking water for the communities because they have a lot of processes that allow them to clean the water before the water leaves their facilities, but they really don't have a good understanding of what the water looks like once somebody opens up their faucet at home, because they don't have control over how the water gets to that particular home. So they wanted some information about the drinking water of the communities within San Bernardino County to get an idea if the water quality is similar to what they test when it leaves the facility. So the first thing that happened in the semester after we set the research question is we had our community partners come to the class, introduce themselves, and speak a bit about their work and possible career opportunities in their organization. And both of these pictures are pictures of our community partners speaking to the class. Now, the rest of the semester, the first part of the semester, actually, first 4 or 5 weeks, we basically trained students on various techniques for different ways in which they can measure water quality. So we did some color assays to look at dissolved substances that were in the water samples that they collected from their communities. We helped them identify living organisms that might be in the water. So looked at cell structure. We ran some tests thinking about metabolic pathways that may be present in the organisms that are found in the water, in the samples that they were collecting. So we spent the first 3 or 4 weeks just training them on different techniques to address, to think about how they would address their particular hypothesis. So we held a workshop where we helped the students develop the particular hypothesis that they were going to test. They developed their research proposals, and then once they're ready, we invited our partners back so that they could hear their proposals, our students' proposals, and provide them with some feedback with what they thought would enhance that particular project. So here in the top picture, we have our students. They each are taking turns to present the research proposal to our partners who are sitting here in the back. And then one of the outcomes that we decided that we would want to grow is creating a database for our partners so that once our class collects the data, it doesn't just disappear once the class goes away, but instead, if we keep up a database every year that we run this class, we would collect data from a much wider um, uh, area. And so that would help our partners really get a better sense for the quality of water across San Bernardino County a little bit better. So that's the map that you see down here. Each of these little dots are places that our students took water samples from. And I've only ran this cure once, so I'm going to run it again next year. And what we hope is that we'll just keep adding to this database. So after they present their proposal, they get some feedback from our partners. They revise their proposal, specifically their methods, and then they collect their data and analyze it. So that particular semester, everybody wanted to go grow microbes. So a lot of what they're doing is plating microbes to see how different environmental conditions would affect the types of microbes that are in their samples. And then at the end of the semester, once they've analyzed their data, they put together poster presentations, and then they present their results to their peers, but also to our community partners and any other stakeholders. So we had our first mini symposium on water. And what we see here is most of these students are my students. We have our community partners. So I'm down here at the bottom on my knees. To the left of me is one of our community partners from San Bernardino community, from the San Bernardino Water Municipality Department. And then the person here all the way to the right with the blue shirt, that is actually another professor on campus. He is in public health, also does work on water quality in San Bernardino. And so I invited him and other his students and another professor to come and present at our mini symposium if they were interested. So now what we're starting to do is grow this research network, at least at our institution, of other professors, other students that are doing work on water quality, so that we could all get together and share the work that we're doing. Because we're pretty siloed, even though we're a small institution. I'm still getting to know more people that are working on water issues on campus that I didn't know about. So this gives us an opportunity to connect with each other and also connect with our outside partners. So for now, I'm still analyzing the data that I collected in regards to how the learning outcomes of students, but also the learning outcomes for faculty and our community partners. But in general, what I expect is that all three of these partners are benefiting from this collaboration. Students will increase their persistence in science. They have an increased professional development, also ethical awareness because they're working on a project for their community. So naturally, they'll be able to understand a bit more about the problems that arise in different parts of the community that maybe they didn't know about. Faculty, if engaging in this type of work, have new funding opportunities that may become available for them to do the work that they're interested in, because they'll have new lines of research, and they might have increased research productivity, because you have this course that now you're using to collect data. So beyond the research that's going on in your lab, you have these courses that are also allowing you to collect data for you to use towards your research. And obviously our community partners will benefit from this because they have more visibility on our campus. If other students see them on campus, then it empowers the agency to be able to attract really well-trained individuals into their organization, specifically because they are there working with us, telling us what are the skills that they would like for our students to be able to graduate with in order to be successful in obtaining a job in their organization. The other thing that has happened since we had this first cure is now when fellowships or internships are opening up in the San Bernardino Water Municipality Department, they are sending me that information so that I can tell my students about those opportunities. And that wasn't available before. So even before our students are graduating looking for jobs, they're able to make these connections and get their foot in the door so that once they graduate, those organizations are already knowing them. And hopefully that makes it easier for them to get jobs in these different sectors. As I said, I haven't been able to analyze my student data yet to see specifically how being engaged in this type of work benefited them. But these are some of the comments that some of my students made in the course evaluation. So they said all aspects of the course were beyond satisfactory. The class discussions and presentations were one of the best parts of the class. Class activities and presentations were the best part of the class for me. Through these projects, I was able to learn the material in great depth. So definitely students are feeling more connected to the work that they're doing, and they have this idea that they're really learning these concepts at a much deeper level than if they were just at in a traditional laboratory. And I really like this last one at the bottom. It says, I really like the research project. I felt like I was a biologist. So that one statement is the entire reason why I originally started this work, and I'm really working hard to make it better. Now, with my partners, like I said, I also haven't been able to collect data yet. I only ran it once, but I'm interested in learning what are some of the gains that they're having. But this is an email that our partner sent to us. So it says, of course, I had emailed her saying, thank you for coming. And she said, of course, thank you so much for reaching out and involving us. Contributing to water education programs like this is a huge benefit to the department as well. So they, even though we just ran this course once, can already see that this was a success and that they could benefit from it. So I think we did a great job. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you for listening to my presentation. This is a work in progress. I'm still developing a lot of the ideas, but I think that youth-inspired research can really help students get all the skills that they need so that once they graduate, they're able to get the jobs that they originally wanted to get and feel really connected to the work that they're producing. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.